In this week's muscle breakdown, I'm going to be covering lateral elbow pain, also known as tennis elbow. There's three very big problems that cause issues and pain and discomfort in the elbow, and people completely miss it. What's up, everybody? Dr. Matt Maggio here, creator of the Peak Method, founder of the Soft Tissue Revolution, where we teach massage therapists a new treatment method that allows them to easily double their income, all while working 50% less and being taken seriously as a healthcare provider. The past couple weeks, I've been covering nerve entrapments, the idea of where nerves can get caught up, specifically in the upper extremity, the ulnar nerve, the radial nerve, the median nerve. And if you haven't looked at those videos, go back if you're consuming this on YouTube. They're in all of our former videos and things like that. And if you're following anywhere else, they're in our profiles and can give you a lot of information on that. But nerve entrapments are a big deal as well. But I started thinking about, lateral elbow pain and what really causes it. And I think there's three very big problems that cause it, and a lot of people are missing them. And then they go in order of what I think is least severe to most severe. And as you see a lot of times, we get into this, I call it like a junk box diagnosis of what's going on. You get a client that comes in, they're like, oh, my elbow hurts out here. And we go, oh, I must have tennis elbow. And it really doesn't tell us anything. It doesn't get to the root cause of what's going on. One of the main core tenets of my method, the Peak Method, is getting to a tissue-specific diagnosis or problem of what's going on. And that can only be in 7 problems in the human body: bone, cartilage, disc, ligament, nerve, tendon, and soft tissue. And if you're just saying tennis elbow, it doesn't really tell us anything. So there's 3 common causes of pain in the lateral elbow that get missed all the time. Number 1 is just scar tissue. I talk about scar tissue all the time. Scar tissue is like glue that gets inside the muscle. Makes it really hard for the muscle to be able to stretch and contract. That's what people train in the Peak Method specialize in, is finding and fixing scar tissue. So think about this. So hold your arm here and hold on that lateral elbow part there, and then just kind of wiggle your fingers around. And you'll feel all these extensor muscles are really working like crazy. And when muscles are overworked, they don't get enough blood flow, they don't get enough oxygen, and the body actually starts to lay down what I call immature collagen fibers, which is just a fancy word for scar tissue. So a lot of people think they can only get scar tissue with some type of accident or trauma, but people spend so much time on the computer typing, using their phones, that these muscles are a wreck, and that scar tissue really forms in all the extensor components, extensor digitorum, extensor carpi radialis. Look at me trying to sound all fancy with my anatomy, but all that scar tissue forms in there, and now the muscles become weaker and they become less flexible. The second problem that can cause lateral elbow pain is actually called a nerve entrapment, specifically the radial nerve. So as I talked about the first problem, that scar tissue starts to form, and it's like a space occupying lesion, and it gets bigger and bigger as it goes. And then eventually what happens is the nerves go through the muscles to get where they need to go, and they get stuck. And when nerves get stuck, they present with numbness, aching, burning, and tension. So the area that causes that lateral elbow pain can be a radial nerve problem. I've covered the radial nerve a lot in detail, but it gets caught in there as well. So you start with scar tissue gets bigger, then it gets stuck to the nerve. Nerves are built with like 15% of extra slack to keep them healthy, gets stuck there. So a lot of people are having that pain in there as well. The last problem is probably the most severe problem, and it gets missed all the time. And what it is called is a tendinosis of the tendons in the elbow. Notice I didn't say tendinitis. It isn't tendinitis. What it is called a tendinosis. So when there's a lot of scar tissue building up, it makes those muscles weaker and less flexible. So they have to generate force from somewhere. So what they do is they actually generate force from the tendon and the bone as well. And it forms what's called a tendinosis. So what I'm going to drop in this week is an old educational video where I explain why it's not tendinitis, it's actually tendinosis. So check that out. Everyone, getting our educational video out. Today I want to talk about the idea and the diagnosis of tendinitis and how it's one of the most common diagnoses out there for injuries in the body, but it's actually incomplete and is actually very uncommon compared to something worse. So what we pulled up here was the Wikipedia page on tendinitis. Basically, tendinitis means inflammation of a tendon. Is a type of tendinopathy often confused with the more common tendinosis, which has similar symptoms but requires a different treatment. That's the key. The different type of treatment. That's very basic, but it means a big deal of a lot of things. So a lot of people are walking around when they have pain in their elbow, wrist, forearm, shoulder, anywhere. They get this diagnosis of what's called tendinitis. Tendinitis just means that it's inflamed. But if it's something that's chronic and been going on for a long time, a lot of those situations are actually isn't inflammation in there. There's actually something a lot worse, an actual degenerative component of the tendon. So when you look at a tendon, normal healthy one basically looks like this. It looks like spaghetti in a box before it's cooked. It's really strong and it would be really hard to snap. That's a normal healthy tendon. But over the years with wear and tear, bad mechanics, injuries, inflammation, everything on that, the tendon really gets beat up because the muscles around there aren't working correctly, and it develops what's called a tendinosis. So a tendinosis is, if we look under a microscope, a tendinosis looks like cooked spaghetti. The problem with that is that area of the tendon is very weak. It doesn't get good blood flow, it doesn't get good oxygen, and causes the pain and inflamed type of feeling that you're feeling. What's going on in the current medical model is everyone is addressing tendinosis thinking that it's a tendinitis and they want to get the inflammation down, so they inject it with cortisone. When you do that, that actually speeds up this tendinosis process, makes this tendon even more degenerated, and they're actually showing more and more if you're likely to get a tear or some type of problem, it's because you had a tendinosis first and the cortisone makes that worse. So there's a big difference in the proper type of diagnosis. So if you're walking around with a tendinitis type of diagnosis, you've done multiple injections, and you're still not any better, it might be time to figure out that you actually have something way worse, a tendinosis, and those are more likely to tear. The difference is very important, and the difference is in the details. So I hope that video gave you a better understanding of like the severity of what is a tendinosis. They get missed all the time, and like I said in the video, the muscles that end up tearing and the tendons that end up tearing, they're tendinoses in the first place. So just to recap, lateral elbow pain. Don't get into that junk box diagnosis of, oh, it's tennis elbow, or it's tight, or it's weak. Really think about what's going on. And that's what we teach in my method, the idea of critically thinking and being able to figure out a tissue-specific problem. So if you have someone that's dealing with tennis elbow in your office and they're not really getting results, you have to really get in deeper and start thinking critically about what's going on. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you like it, give it a comment, a share, all that kind of stuff. If you have anything specifically you want us to cover, send us a message. We got free training. Look at our old YouTube videos. We're really trying to help get massage therapy, specifically high-end quality hands-on soft tissue treatment to more people. And it starts by thinking critically, being able to figure out what's going on, have a tissue specific problem, and then a functional based treatment to fix it. So I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.